Um, it is so good to be here, Reese. Welcome
Yes.
everyone who's listening to another episode. So our first episode is actually dropping in 2 days. So how do you feel? Like, where are you at with that? Like, what goes through you just to level set a little bit? Like, we're almost a real
Yeah,
child all of a sudden. No longer Pinocchio. How does
right.
that feel?
We're cutting the strings. It feels really good. I think that the kind of witchier side of myself is always something that has been I just don't talk about it all that much. And so it's been very personal for me for such a long time because it's kind of been just for me. And of course, I do have one of my very good friends who, when I was first dabbling in this, she was as well. And so we were able to talk about it, but we don't live in the same place. And so it's always just been things that I've explored by myself. And it still very much feels like a solo independent practice. But being able to bring it out into community, I think is really exciting because I feel a lot of confidence around it now more than ever that it's like, yeah, some people are going to think it's weird, and that's okay. I think a lot of things about Christianity are weird, So it's like
I,
just because something is popular or not popular doesn't mean it's good or bad. And I'm excited for it to be something that I can continue having these conversations about. Yes, with you, of course, but also with our listeners and like even in the comments and just owning that identity. I'm excited to do it. I feel like I've reached a place where I've released some of the fear of that and I've stepped into more giddy anticipation. So I'm looking forward to it. What about you? How are you feeling? It's your first podcast as well, so I'm sure that there's some other added thoughts and feelings there for you that I'm like, I've kind of been putting personal stories and my voice and my face online for a few years now. So how are you feeling about everything?
yeah, there's a lot there. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of different parts of me. I, you know, the word you used that resonated with me just recently was confidence, and I'm excited about this because I feel this confidence, and unlike you, this isn't something that necessarily I've wanted to do for such a long time exactly, but it's something that I so intensely have wanted to do, and have come into to grow into wanting to do. And so to have it happen as quickly as it has happened in some senses is just so cool. So there's this part of me that's like, man, this is I couldn't have orchestrated this if I tried. And so it's lovely to just get in the river in a sense. Like, I've got I've got my my tube, and I'm jumping in the river and it's going downstream, and hopefully I got hopefully it ends in a good way.
Yeah.
Hopefully I got my life has done. But I know it will. I kind of joke with that. But but then there's that other part of me that does worry about, hey, you're putting, being authentic and real, and to your point, not everybody's going to agree with this, but I go back to the thing we talked about a few weeks ago, which is this idea of, I embrace being misunderstood, knowing that my truth will resonate with those who need and are meant to hear it. And, to me, that's very, very powerful. And I kind of lean on that is that, what, it's good. I want to be misunderstood by some people because that, it's this idea of medicine that has no side effects probably doesn't work. Every
Mm,
medicine that works typically has some side effects for some people because otherwise, if there's no active ingredients, then it's not going to work, at least from a chemical perspective, right?
right,
So
right.
to me, and in terms of, in my past life, I spoke in front of hundreds of people, so the idea of speaking isn't troublesome to me per se. But I always had butterflies, before every time I would speak in front of people, and I know people who try to do public speaking, and maybe practice at it. They wonder when the butterflies go away, and the answer is never. And my view is if you don't, I view this work as sacred. Truly, I view what we're doing in some ways as sacred, and if you don't to whatever degree have a little bit of butterflies in your stomach, then why are you doing it? It means it has,
Yeah.
no, it shouldn't be paralyzing nervousness or,
Right.
or, and it's a good kind of butterflies. It's, like it's like tummy kisses. It's not like, anxiety that are, that's driving me deeply. So yeah, and again, I am just so honored and blessed to be here. It's very, just to be
Mm,
here doing this is the highlight of my week. And I'm traveling. People behind me, if you're looking, and in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. But even so, I couldn't miss an opportunity to have this time together and to share our journey. Fellow
yeah.
sojourners with those listening. We're all on a journey, and it's more fun together than it is apart, I think. So
That is for sure. And yeah, I totally agree with what you said and the question of, when do the butterflies go away? I think my answer for that is when you stop caring about it. And the fact that that's there is it's just proof that it's important and that like how it ends up, how it shakes out is of value to you. And I think also one thing that has been a quote that I've held for quite some time, but it's hard for me to internalize. But with this, I embrace being misunderstood. There's a Buddha quote that is, "The man who has no enemies has never stood for anything," and that was so profound to me, especially in like high school. I really had this idea of like not needing need for nothing, want for nothing, never do anything that could potentially not be of help or service to someone else because they don't need that, right? And how can I just be as like perfect and sunshiny as possible to bring only good into the world, which we can all hear all of the flaws in that logic, right? And I heard that quote and I was like, whoa, I really never wanted an enemy because I wanted everyone to like me so that I could be good. And it's like, but that means you are not standing as yourself, standing for anything that you believe in. And how in the world are you going to make an impact that way? And isn't that the most important thing? So,
and it just shows you there's a part of you somewhere deep down inside that believes, if I'm not liked by someone, then I'm bad. That
yeah,
it's important to me. If I make a mistake, I'm bad. So there's all these beliefs that lie underneath the ocean here, and only when you examine them and see where they're coming from, and ultimately, release them. I mean, that's the goal of all of this work, is to say, this thing I believe, is it really true?
yeah,
And or are there alternative explanations for it? And we've all and most of this stuff happens to us as kids, right? And most of the time we have loving parents. Not, I mean, obviously this is not true for everyone, but they. I tend to believe most parents are loving and care about their kids and want them to grow up and do well. I mean, but yet all of these messages come through. I'm not important. I'm not loved. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy. My needs don't matter. All of these things, and they come out in these little subtle ways, like you just mentioned. Like, I don't make waves because if I make waves, then I'm bad. And there's probably times in our lives where that happened, and we need to update ourselves. So I guess this is our opportunity to make some waves and see what
yeah,
happens, and
that's right.
sit with the uncomfortable, being uncomfortable in that. The we I think as a whole, our society, and I think maybe social media and all that goes along with it has exacerbated it, a hundredfold, is this idea that it's not okay to be uncomfortable. And anytime we have to sit with any level of discomfort, we immediately want to relieve that discomfort. Whether it's and that's why doom scrolling occurs, because I'm uncomfortable right now. If I just sat here and thought, uh, that's gonna I don't like that feeling. And so I want to scroll, or I want to, whatever it is, whatever our uh, pleasure is, to the mindless, to keep our minds off of what we're scared of or scared to explore.
Yes.
So, I think maybe we'll make some people uncomfortable, and maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We make ourselves uncomfortable when we hear what people have to say. But
Right.
be interesting to see where it goes. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's got to be in it's all good. That's all I know. Like I am convinced that it is absolutely all good. So
I agree.
um,
I agree. I
cool,
agree.
cool. And love your t-shirt. I got to make mention of that. As always, you look
Thank
lovely,
you.
and Kiss is
Thank you.
awesome. So rocking.
One of
Love it,
my
love it.
favorite vintage t-shirt finds that my friends and parents make fun of me for having bought a t-shirt with holes already in it, but I like
I
it.
love it. It's and that's all that matters, and it's gorgeous looking, and as always, it's so lovely to see more personality. I don't know what I don't know what my outfit says about my personality, but um, it's all good here. So.
Yep. All good.
All right. So now, I did have an interesting exercise that we could walk through if that feels right still.
Yeah, that
And
sounds
for
great.
everyone listening, we have not planned this, so Reese has no idea what I'm going to propose, except at a very high level, just like we did the other day. But actually, yeah. But even before we go into that, one of the things we talked about, and maybe we'll just tease it for the future. Um, one of the things we wanted to look at was just this talking in the future about some biblical women to look at for an
Yes.
example. And I don't know, just what maybe we want to just give a 2 minutes just to share what we're thinking and so
Yeah.
give a little bit of a preview.
I think that's a brilliant idea. So, Dennis and I both were raised in Christian environments, and both have a very, I would say, deep knowledge of the Bible. I've read the Bible cover to cover twice in total, and I think both as a like my master's is in English and philosophy, my like undergrad kind of work, all of this is really entrenched in textual analysis. And so there is something not only just sacred about the Bible and its religious history, but really in terms of the textual analysis that can be done in present day. There is a lot there to unpack and unfold. And I think that there are still a lot of lessons to be learned, whether or not we take these as literal or as metaphorical and couch them within our modern day context or historical context. And in the both bad and good messages that women receive. I think that's something that we both have really been fascinated by. And we wanted to kind of tie this in as we discuss our spiritual journeys and our paths through deconstruction and reconstruction. It's the Bible, while not necessarily the foundation of my spiritual practice anymore, is still definitely a piece of that puzzle. And I'm really excited to return to it and be able to look at it with fresh eyes. So I believe we're going to start next week, and we'll kind of explore for a few episodes these snapshots of biblical women characters. And we're hoping to begin with the Madonna and end with the Madonna to kind of provide a full circle, see how our thoughts have changed and shifted. So subscribe if you don't want to miss this. I think we're both really excited for it. Yeah, anything I missed,
Well,
Dennis,
well,
or that you would
no,
like to add about this?
no, I love it. And for me, I'm really curious to explore together with you in terms of to get your take on things because I agree it resonates very strongly that I view the Bible as a fundamental part of my spiritual DNA, if you will. Um for all that carries, both positive, negative, neutral. And again, I don't really view any positives or negatives. It's all part of the experience. So but to see another perspective on it, I'm really curious how that'll play out and how it'll change my view of things because I'm here also to learn. And I don't presume to be an expert in this. I can give my thoughts, and I think I have some interesting perspectives growing up in this and the examples that I saw through my family and of a biblical woman and what that meant. And so I don't know where we'll go, and I don't know that we'll do straight, that this is going to be 6 in a row, but I think it's something that may thread through what we're doing. So but we're quirky and we're going to do what we want to do. So maybe we will, maybe we won't. You'll have to subscribe and see, I guess. So
That's right. Come, it'll
yeah,
be a roller coaster for you and us. We're all discovering
exactly,
it along the
exactly.
way.
but it'll be real. Whatever it is, it'll be
Yeah,
real.
this is
So if
true.
that's a value, which I think it is, see what we come up with. Yeah. So if it feels right, I'd love to try this.
Yeah.
And so this is a brief. Um, you could call it a meditation. Um, Really, I'd say I kind of call it it's also a thought exercise in terms of where you are and what's really how you really see yourself and what comes up for you and when we go through this and so it's probably about 7 or 8 minutes and it's really inside and so again I encourage if you're in a space if you're listening maybe close your if you're in a place where you can just take a few minutes and follow along and see what comes up for you as well and yeah, I mean, there's no wrong answer here with this. This is purely an exercise to come to a greater knowledge, perhaps, of who you are, and see what you accept about that and what you don't. And I did it. I've done it myself, and it's interesting again where things catch for me. So I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
to see what comes up for you. So if you're ready you're ready
Yeah.
to try this.
Let's
So
do it.
first, let's just take just look around where you are first, just to get a little bit of a grounding and look around or listen, just notice a few things that maybe you haven't really looked at, and just take a second to orient yourself to where you are. You're in your normal space for recording, of course, but just and then just take a few deep cleansing breaths. And in those breaths, if you can, as you exhale, just notice if you feel sort of what I'll call a settling in your body. Just a little click that like is I've settled a little bit, and let me know if you feel it when you feel it.
Yeah, there's the click.
And tell me did you feel it in your body somewhere? Where did you feel it?
Yeah. Uh it sort of in like my I guess like the core of my abdomen, kind of just a settling but more energetic than actually like a physical experience.
Cool. Cool. So I just want you to notice that. And remember, as we do this exercise, if at any point you need to, you can go back to that and feel that settling again. If for whatever reason your nervous system gets activated or you feel unsettled, always remember you can titrate back to that feeling of safety and security as we do this exercise and just notice. Um, all right, so just relax as best as you possibly can. Close your eyes if that feels right. And just notice your body. And if you notice any stresses in your body, maybe your neck, maybe your shoulders, maybe a tightness, just breathe into them. Try to just let go as much as you possibly can and feel as much ease as you can. Um, there's no need to be tense in this exercise. I'd invite you to let go of any ideas that you have, any labels you have of yourself, of what we're doing. You don't need them right now. You can just let go of it all. You can let go of trying to control your body or trying to control the external. Again, just let go and let whatever is going to unfold unfold. And now, just as your eyes are closed, just start to feel yourself to be the dreamer in this world within you. So in your imagination, in your mind's eye, feel yourself to be the one who is in the authority position. You have the authority to dream whatever you want to dream inside this world of imagination. Now, as the dreamer that you are, our goal today for the next few minutes is to create a dream to the best of your ability. It does not have to be perfect. So what I want you to do, what I invite you to do, is to dream yourself in the first person, sitting on a throne. And make it as grand as you like, in whatever style suits you. And now in the first person, dream yourself into the ruler on this throne. Maybe it's a queen. Maybe it's a pharaoh. Maybe it's an empress. Whatever feels right for you. But imagine yourself on the throne as the sovereign. And now notice the implication of the throne. That you must be the highest here. Notice the power and the stillness it brings. Notice the authority you have. By your own words, what you say goes in here. Just feel the authority. And notice at the moment that you appropriate this power, you're not just using it, but in fact, you no longer try to seek it. It's simply yours. It's there. Just like your arm or your leg. It brings a stillness within you. Feel that stillness and just surrender to this power. Surrender to having it, to knowing that it's yours. Now that you're in this space, we're going to focus on feeling from this dream, this place of authority, this place of stillness, this place of surrender. Now, I want you to imagine somebody just feeding you grapes while you're on your throne. And have fun with it. Have fun with it. Somebody perhaps massaging your feet. Somebody attending to your needs, no matter how small they are. You're the sovereign here. This is your world. And enjoy it. Hear someone tell you it's an honor for them to serve you. Just hear it. Hear them call you your grace. Say no to something. And let your no be a no. Feel the authority that you have in this world. Try not to resist it and simply accept what you are dreaming. Feel the calmness and intensity of being the highest. Feel the power of being the queen, of being the empress. Feel you are divine. Feel that you have ears that hear beyond the physical. Feel that you have eyes that see beyond the physical. Feel the calmness of abundance. Feel that others are inspired by your very presence, just being in the room with them. Feel the deepness, the stillness, and the strength in yourself, not from outside you, not from anywhere else, but from inward. You do not have to fear, but feel intense confidence in every word you speak. See yourself to be brilliant, to be majestic, to be intelligent, to be wise, be glorious. Feel these things and imagine what it would be like to accept them completely, without reservation, without hesitation, to just be. And notice that you are your own authority in here. Now, I'm just going to speak some words over you and ask you, if you can, to simply accept it. You have no fear, and you speak with the highest authority. There is no need for insecurity, for you are abundant in everything, for you are the dreamer. The only lack you have is the lack of fear. You do not waste time dreaming punishments for yourself, but you uplift yourself always. Punishment, fear, guilt, and shame are for the unenlightened dreamer. But you are enlightened. Feel that. Accept it. You are far beyond that now. And you see how this is your dream world. You can dream the dream to your heart's desire and your heart's content, and it must happen. In here, everything you desire becomes fulfilled because you have all you desire inside yourself already. You have no enemies, no oppressors, no opposition, and no adversaries. There is no one greater than you inside yourself. You only dream all that is loving, all that is the highest, all that is noble, that is brilliant, that is powerful. And the only thing that you worship is your name, which is I am. By attaching the highest words to I am. Focus intensely on these feelings. Feel them. And do not allow lowly feelings of fear and shame and guilt to hold you down. If you are not willing to feel an ever-increasing intensity of beauty, power, love, and brilliance, then why even have an imagination? You are the dreamer who can do anything in imagination. So why not do anything and everything? Now, as we come to a close, I just invite you to take a few more deep breaths and just notice what comes up for you. Notice any parts that have feelings about what we just did, that may like it, may not like it, and thank them for being present, for being a part of this. And then I invite you to just slowly come back to your body. Notice your feet on the floor, perhaps, your back, your seat in the chair. Notice gravity pushing you down into the chair. Notice any sounds, the bells that were tolling earlier, maybe the air conditioning, the sound of traffic. Any smells that you may have in your apartment. And then when it feels right, when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and just acclimate yourself to your room again. Again, maybe picking out one or two things to look at that you haven't noticed before. And then when you're ready, when it feels right, just take one more deep breath into your root chakra, that energy flowing into the earth and bouncing back up through the crown of your head to the heavens. Breathe out one last time, remembering where you are, and we're here on the podcast. So, I'll give you a second there to collect your thoughts and just take a moment to reflect on the experience.
Yeah. Thank you. It is certainly interesting which parts feel so easy and which ones absolutely do not. Um, and I'm a very visual person, I'm a very visual learner. And so visualizations tend to work really well for me in that I can really see things in my mind's eye. And it was so fascinating because, of course, you say the word throne, and everyone has this kind of platonic ideal of what a throne is that initially comes to mind. And immediately, my mind was like, well, no, 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 no. If you were a ruler, you would want to be benevolent. What if it was actually like a big couch and your subjects could come sit next to you? Or what if it was actually a cushion on the floor and everyone could come in and kind of sit in a circle around and have these conversations? And I think in practice, that's a really lovely idea, but for the purposes of this meditation, remarkable in the sense that it deserves to be remarked upon, that immediately that is where my mind wanted to go, was a way to even out any power differential. The other
That's
place,
very interesting. Very, yeah.
the other place that my mind, like, this was the strongest nope I felt in a while, was when you said, imagine someone feeding you grapes. And I was like,
I knew I had
I was like, I could have grapes in my hand and I can be eating them myself, but someone else feeding me? And then I was like, okay, why no? And immediately my mind is like, well, that it's mean, it's rude, it's demeaning, it's who do you think you are? Like, what, why you? And like, no, why would anyone want to do that? Absolutely not. Like, that is the most demeaning thing that you could think of to have someone else do. And then as you continued with the, but they want to. And it is like a joy and a privilege to tend to your needs. And I was like, well, who needs to be fed grapes? And I was like, well, it's really about more than that, isn't it? It's sustenance, it's energy, it is fuel in the way that food is. And I really forced myself to sit with that one and think of like, okay, how can you really feel comfortable with this in a way that is like not guilt ridden, but in a way that is, if you are in an agreement that feels equitable to both like consenting adult parties, why not? What is bad about it, right? And then as you continued on later in the meditation and you mentioned the different parts, right, that maybe resisted certain things or were open to certain things. And I was like, in my mind, I began to really see all of these perhaps subjects or servants or like court members doing things around me and for me. It's like, and ultimately, that is not subjugating anyone else. That is subjugating the parts of myself that should be in service of me. Because in this manifestation of this reality, I would never walk up to someone and say, feed me grapes, right? Just because of the societal norms and mores around that. But in the reality of this visualization, it is actually so much more than that. It is just allowing yourself to receive gratefully and thankfully, and that there are energies and parts of yourself that want to give to you. They're there.
Will you let them? Yeah, will you let them? And will you hold the door open? Yeah, I think it's interesting. I thank you for sharing that too. And the places that the snags come up, the feeding of the grapes, or the massaging of the feet, or but what it is really, I mean, it's a metaphor for somebody pouring into you, and all of a sudden it's no longer transactional, right? It becomes personal at that point. It's like, okay, well, I have no problem going to pay somebody $50 to give me a foot massage at some
Right.
salon, right? Like that's equitable. But hey, just to have somebody there massaging my feet because it gives them joy to do so. Why would I put in my mind that I'm not worthy of that? In my own imagination, I'm not even asking somebody to do it in real life, right? This is purely in my head. Like no animals were harmed in the making of this meditation, sort of thing,
This visualization.
and,
Yeah.
but when you notice that, how powerful it is to just notice that and ask yourself why. Because here's the thing: if you genuinely don't believe that you are worthy of somebody feeding you grapes, again, regardless of whether that's something you would ever want somebody to do, I frankly, the idea is uncomfortable to me, just from a physical. I just don't like the idea of somebody touching my food. That's my own thing. But is that really what the issue is? No, there is a part, as I did this, there's a part of me that's like, can't even imagine myself, in that position. But why? And what does that stop me from achieving in life? Because if I don't think I'm worthy of that, why would anybody else?
Yeah.
Why would the world think that? And so, I mean, I listen to this almost every day, actually, this meditation, to see how I'm changing with it, like to see how it feels to hear somebody say, yeah, it's my pleasure to serve you. It's my pleasure to do this. This is, and, you know, where can that take you as you start to see that in your, in your mind and in your heart? It's all well and good until you start to feel from it. And how does it feel? I mean, how would it feel to be there and give commands and to say no? Because I have trouble saying no. It's difficult to say no, but to have your no's be no's, that to me is powerful. But I'm curious, did you, even as you hear yourself say this and think about it, what comes up for you there? Is it like, wow, this is scary, this is good. Do you feel it anywhere? Like, wow, I really have this as an issue. Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah. I think it's unsurprising in a lot of ways for me, simply because this is like very much the crux of my work, in the sense of like almost all of my therapy, and which I may have mentioned at some point, but I've been in therapy for about 13 years with the same therapist, and almost everything that I have worked on and processed and done throughout therapy goes back to, I am not bad. I am inherently worthy and I deserve to love myself. And now I'm really in this era of taking it one step further, and not just I am inherently worthy, but not only am I inherently worthy, I am also, now as an adult, it's my highest job. Riverside always loves giving me that thumbs up. It is my highest job and highest order need to love myself. That is actually my obligation to myself as Reese. And that is a mantle that I have not taken up and in for so long, and am now really trying to, right, with this awareness. And in any frustration that we may have at our imperfect childhood or imperfect relationships or imperfect other people, why do I not hold that same frustration for myself when I don't love me the way I've always wanted other people to love me? Like, I should have the most anger for myself doing that. And of course, not that I think that anger at the self is like necessarily a productive path forward, more using that as a thought experiment in the sense that's like, let's start there. Like, you're rightfully so frustrated in these other places, and you can continue to work with those people to heal those things, but how are you doing that for yourself? And one thing that, oh my goodness, now I feel like it's Source just like encouraging me on.
Go, keep going. We got the
Maybe.
fireworks. That's
Right.
absolutely incredible, incredible.
But also, like, learning that like it is my job to take care of myself, it is my obligation to, it is also the thing that I am best equipped for. I have every single tool that I could possibly need to love and take care of myself, and it is just like something that I have not done, and not in the like, oh, I'm really struggling kind of sense, but in the, I feel mean when I picture someone feeding me grapes, right? That it's like that feels like it makes me bad. And so when I feed myself grapes, why is the response, I'm sorry? Because I'm taking something away from someone else? No, because there is this inherent underlying belief that I don't deserve it, that someone else or something else is more deserving, more worthy, maybe, but also inherently that I am not. And yeah, so all that to say, it's not unsurprising because that is just like the thing for me. It always has been, and it is so interesting. I think most people actually feel their purpose really at this kind of crux between their self-work and what they were put on this earth to do. And for me, it is that all of my work is really around this thing. And everything that I want to do is help other people feel worthy enough to chase their purpose. And in order to chase your purpose, you have to feel like you're worth it. You have to. Yeah. And I think too, there is this resistance to, and there's no fear there, right? It's like there is still some fear there for me that I think is of note as well. Yeah.
Interesting. That fear is it? I'm curious, Reese, if it's is it afraid that you're going to misuse this? Like that if in fact this were true, that and again, see what feels right. Like because a lot of times you go cognitive, but really this is a feeling, right? Is it like, oh, I'm not qualified to handle this? Is it I don't or is it just simply I don't even know what this feels like, and it's scary because it's something new. Like where is that? Where does that fear reside? Again, as you think about, like, imagine again, feel into that. I what I say goes. I'm on a throne. Like this is Game of Thrones. Like I sit the Iron Throne, and what I say goes. And is it worried you're going to make bad decisions? Like, I'm just so curious where that fear comes from.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of it that is like, oh, it's unknown, so how do you even conceptualize what that is, right? It's almost like a Lovecraftian like cryptid monster that's like, well, I don't know. I don't know, that actually doesn't have a face, because the thing that's the scariest thing is what we can imagine, not what he could ever describe. It's like it feels very that to me. But I think there is also this fear of like, if I truly believe that I am worth my wildest dreams, will I become, even though I know I'm not a bad person, will I become a bad person? Because when you think of people who truly believe in, well, I'm worth everything, it's those are selfish people. Those are narcissistic people who actually like believes that they are deserving of anything, right? There is this sense of like justice, I think, that fights against that for me. That's like you have to earn anything and you actually should fight for and
Mm.
work for anything that you get. Why should you just be given anything? And even though cognitively I don't agree with that, I do think that there are things that as human beings we just deserve to have, right? Because we need them to survive. But there is very much this like clinging to meritocracy, and if you make it to the top of that mountain, you must be bad in some way. You must have had to step on other people to get there. And that means that you're bad. And I think that that's the fear, that if you do really internalize that, what's to stop you from ignoring people when you pass them on the street, being rude to wait staff, not saying thank you when someone opens the door for you because it's like, well, of course I deserve it. And again, logically, you know that that's not necessarily how that will roll, but couldn't it?
Interesting. No, that's very very self-aware, I think. And I guess the question that comes up then is like, what would this this idea of, be what I heard, and again, maybe see if this if it's if I'm if I think too highly of myself, then I'm bad. If I, you know and I almost often wonder is if I could get whatever I wanted, then I would be no better than these selfish people who get what, who have everything that they want. And or it seems, again, I feel like a lot of people who, for instance, have tons of money are generally pretty unhappy people anyway. So
Right.
in just an observation, not that there's anything, and I think maybe people who are really happy who have money, you just don't know about them because they're not out there they're just living their lives happily. Um, yeah, it's interesting to notice that fear, and then question if it's really true though. Like, I mean, I have trouble seeing like you could have universal absolute power, and I still don't see you going out of your way to step on people, or just that's my observation of you. Um, and so in some senses, you're actually, and this just came to me. Maybe it's not true. I don't know, but you're almost doing to yourself what you're afraid you're going to do to others. So you're stepping on yourself by not, you're putting yourself down. You're literally making yourself smaller so as to, I mean, to keep yourself from possibly hurting somebody else that there's no evidence for, right?
Right. Right.
there's no, so it's just so interesting. And again, I'm not trying to solve it, judge it, or
No,
anything, but just
no.
notice it because is it true? That's the big question. If you had unlimited power, if you were queen of the world, would you do good things or bad things? I mean, you're
Yeah.
not going to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect because we're human. But that's the thing. And can you start to think a little bigger? Can because what other dreams are you blocking? What other things are you closing the door on because you're scared what's behind door number two? And is that okay? And if it's not, well, it might be, but if it's not, how do you lean into that? How do you and to me, I think my and because I struggle with the same things. I mean, everything we're talking about here, I'd
Yeah.
love to say, oh, I've overcome this, but the fact is I've made progress for sure. I'm in a very different place since I've started this work of this idea of being worthy to myself because I'm the only one when you think about it, in this entire any struggles that we had in this meditation as you were doing it, you can't blame somebody else for those struggles. No one else is, there's nothing else. It's just you. it's literally just you putting up an obstacle to yourself, putting up a hurdle to yourself. I mean, well, if I don't work hard, if I don't pay my dues, I don't deserve this. Like, so notice the transactional nature of that.
Yeah.
It's where, yeah.
It Yeah, no, no, no. I completely agree, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
But so many thoughts are kind of rolling. The first one is
love it.
just the sense in which, like, capitalism and meritocracy keep kind of coming up for me. That there is this sense of, like, if you work hard and you work harder than anyone else, then you will get there. You will be queen of the world, to kind of continue our visualization metaphor.
Yeah.
And I think when I look at other people who are quote unquote on top of the world, I don't think they're very good people. I don't think a lot of people think that they're very good people, at least people that I tend to vibe with. And there is this certain sense of, like, well, how do you get to be a billionaire unless you have done something wrong? And so almost the pathway to being queen of the world, as opposed to, like, well, once I'm there, it's like it's easier for me to imagine I am already queen of the world and I can do great things. To get there, to traverse the path to make that a reality, feels impossible without hurting someone else, which is, even as I say it, why place that rule on myself? Why is that a necessity to be there? That is absolutely a block that I am self-supplanting. I love what you said too about, well, aren't you just doing the exact same thing to yourself that you're so afraid of doing to other people? And it's very much your greatest strength is your greatest weakness, right? And this was something I talk about Catherine Hart all the time, but in one of my acting classes, we did this exercise where we were identifying our greatest strengths and greatest weaknesses and how they were actually the same thing. And she was like, Reese, you are one of the most selfless people in the world. You are one of the most selfless people in the world. And I was like that nailed me, that I was like, I need to get real about who myself is, because I can't just be a vessel for other people. And then lastly, as you said, that it sounds very transactional, and it does get to this place of, like, oh, I have no problem getting a foot massage if I pay someone to do it, right? And it's like, this is the agreement that we've entered into, that society has deemed fair, deemed just. Why does everything have to be so transactional? Isn't there a way that we can reach equity without currency? And it makes me think of the Heidegger concept of technological futurism, where it's like we start to treat everyone in our day as just another transaction, as opposed to a human being. And actually, if we were treating people as human beings, wouldn't it actually feel a little bit weirder to say, I'm going to pay you to massage my feet, than, hey, let me massage your feet because I care about you? Like, when you're little, I remember I would always ask my mom to scratch my back, right? And I think that that's a memory that a lot of us have. And it's like, you would never pay your mom to do that. It's just, one of those lovely things that parents will do for their kids, that it feels nice and you feel loved and cared for, and it's the physical touch. But to say, okay, mom, here's $5, that's really odd, actually.
Yeah,
You wouldn't
or
do
even,
that.
right, but how would it? Well, okay, mom, I put the dishes out of the dishwasher. Could you scratch my back? I mean,
Yeah,
that's something, like, I mean, that's just as, yes, you never offer your mom $5 to scratch your back, but don't we do that in everyday life with in everything? Like, oh
yeah,
well, and even this, I mean, you said it yourself, to work hard. So that's you have to somehow reward yourself. But if you reward yourself, then you also have to punish yourself. You can't
Yeah.
have one without the other. You can't just reward yourself and not punish yourself, because both sides have to exist. If you're worthy of reward, then you're also worthy of punishment. And so what I
Yeah.
say is why is it either? Like
Yeah.
why do I need to punish myself, and why do I am my own reward? Is the way I would love to live, and that's what I think this meditation gets at the heart of. And again, I don't know that, people may or may not want people to rub their feet or scratch their, but there is
Right.
something you want, right? Whatever it is, and in fact, that'd be a great way to find what is it that you really want, that you don't, that you need somebody else to, or that ostensibly you want somebody else to do. And are you,
Yeah.
the first question I always ask is, are you doing it for yourself? Do you feel that way about yourself? So,
Yeah.
I mean, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be. I mean, people have different desires. Our listeners, some people have a desire to be put on a pedestal. They want to be, put up there and, worshipped with a lowercase w, or maybe an uppercase w, whatever. Like that's their desire, and that's okay. And because you know what, there's somebody out there who is interested in that, who that's what they were. And when you're in the flow, everybody's happy. It doesn't have to be a zero sum game with whatever that is, whether it's work, whether it's play, whether it's, romantic, whether it's just friendships. Like there is, and I I just feel we lead such unfulfilling lives sometimes because
Mm,
we're just scared to even acknowledge what we really want. And again, this goes back to shadow work, like what we've talked about.
yeah.
But to realize that you're, when you know who you are, things just flow around you more. Like when you truly, because if you're living in the state of being the queen of your own life, the sovereign of your own life, everybody has to follow that when it's real, because they have no choice, because you see yourself that way. And again, does King Charles, or formerly Queen Elizabeth, she wakes up in the morning, she's still queen. It doesn't matter how she feels. She doesn't, there's no question of, oh shit, I got bedhead this morning, I'm not the queen. Like that doesn't happen. She just takes it, she just assumes it. And what I guess I'm saying is that every single one of our listeners can do the same. There's nothing
Yeah.
stopping them from doing the same, other than themselves. There's no circumstances, and again, I know many people find themselves in difficult circumstances, and I don't make light of that. And this is not a, positive vibes only kind of thing. It's not a, fake it till you make it,
Right.
because it is truly starting to believe that, what, you are the sovereign of your own
Yeah.
life. And you know but again, and it's also saying, I understand that some people in society would say this is selfish, because I mean, kind of it all goes down. We've all been called selfish, all the, for any time. I'm sure that was part of what happened to you growing up. You're selfish because you wanted to do something for yourself. Wow, I wanted to go to this dinner, or I wanted to play video games, so I'm selfish. I didn't clean up the kitchen after I made cereal, so I'm selfish. I left the box out. Selfish, selfish, selfish. And I guess I'm here to say it's not selfish to be who you are and to see your greatness. It's not to lord it over anyone. It's not to be better than or superior to. It is to just walk in the joy of being who you are and loving what you love and who you love and what you want.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that in your imagination, how could you ever expect to have it in the real world? And to me, that's the thing that I dislike for people. That I want people to see themselves as how powerful they are, because when you're powerful, you give freely because you know it's yours. You give out of your
Yeah.
abundance. You and so if you know you're the sovereign of your own life, you're queen of your own life, you can be gracious to other people because you know who you are. Why are we not gracious to people? Because we're scared. We closed ourselves off. We don't see our, well, if I'm nice to them, what do I get? Again, going back to this transactional attunement,
Yeah.
this technological attunement to life. Like everything's a deal. Everything's a
Right.
deal. Why?
Yeah. Why?
Why does it have to? Why do we put that on ourselves?
Yeah. I would also, yes, d'accordo. which is I've been using that in my Italian language classes, which is basically like I agree, right? But it's also like I like that it's the root is like accord. It's there's a loveliness to that word that I like. But for you, when you first did this meditation, you said there were some sticky parts, and I know you kind of laughed when I said my biggest nope was the grapes. Did the grapes catch for you, or where was some other sticky parts for you? And what keeps you coming back to this meditation specifically for this work?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So for me, yes, definitely the the feeding you grapes and massaging your feet. That was very challenging for me for whatever reason. And again, going back to that, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve this. Like it's demeaning, and but then I ask myself, is it really? Like if you love somebody, like I would have no problem giving somebody a foot massage. I wouldn't if I cared for them. No, I mean I'm not going to necessarily go out on the street and find people to give foot massages to. But I mean, to me, it would be an honor in some senses to do that. Like it would be a joy if I cared for the person because I know it's they're enjoying it and it's the opportunity to give and in some senses by not if you can't receive it you're actually closing the door to that person getting joy and pleasure and fulfillment out of being able to be that part of your life because we're all interconnected. And so for me to listen to that and to imagine it and to get to the point where it's it is more comfortable to do. That's why I focus on it. This idea of and I think we've talked about it before, this idea of expansive versus restrictive thoughts. And to say, "Oh, I'm not good enough," or it feels weird to me to have somebody rub my feet. Well, why? Like, do I like to have my feet rubbed? Sure, who doesn't? A foot massage is great. Everybody, like Pulp Fiction, who doesn't love a foot massage?
Right.
You know, foot massages are great. But why is there a catch? And again, I use the analogy to me. I notice in myself almost like when you have a splintered nail and like you rub it over a nylon or something, how it catches on that nylon. That's how I judge where I'm at. It is what is catching for me. Like when I think of this, is it smooth like silk or does it catch and does it snag? So, that for me snagged. And I also think this, at one point, where I was just sort of reading things, um, or it was feel you are divine, feel the power of being the pharaoh, feel the power of being the queen, the king, but feel you are divine. That is also a sticking point. This idea
Mm.
of being, and again, how do you define that? To me, it's that spark of divinity that I'm part of the divine, and the sublime, as we talked about last week, but all this oneness, um, but again, I think that that's just years of Christianity, of conditioning, of don't think too highly of yourself. You can't possibly be divine. You make these mistakes. And it goes back to what we talked about, I think last week in terms of, or certainly in the past about how your first boyfriend would say, you're so perfect and you couldn't
Mm.
receive it. How dissimilar. I mean, to me, this, just that links back. That's a theme, right? That's sort of
Yeah.
the same. If you can't accept somebody seeing you as perfect, whatever that means anyway, because then you can't accept yourself as being divine, or you can't accept somebody rubbing your feet. Like you don't even feel, is it, hey, I can't believe somebody would find rubbing my feet to be something they would want to do because I don't deserve that. But the fact is you do.
Yeah.
Now, should you force somebody to do that? No, of course not. Like it's like, or maybe they like that. I mean, again, the rabbit hole just goes so deep, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing. And what I just want to say is like, let's just be real and pull the guilt and shame off of it. Like
Yeah.
there is nothing wrong with wanting people to take care of you sometimes, but again, it's like the oxygen mask thing on the plane. Like you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can put on somebody else's. Like, should you be rubbing other people's feet too? Yes. And no, maybe not physically, but metaphorically, that's what we're here. I mean,
Right.
we're coaches, we're helpers. Really, my job is to help massage people's souls.
Mm.
and souls with both an E and a U, so
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
in both ways, in a sense, because they're all connected, number one, but that's why we're here. But don't we deserve to also have somebody rub our metaphorical and physical souls? Yes, yes. Because how can I, if I'm well and I'm helping others and I'm accepting this, then people are going to be more comfortable accepting it from me as well, because I can give more freely. As freely as I've received, I can give. So
Yeah.
it's a virtuous circle, and
It's
the opposite is
making
true. Yeah, go. It's
Oh,
making.
I was it's making me think of Jesus washing his disciples' feet and drying them with his hair, right? And how hard it must have been for like any of those disciples to be like, this is the person that I believe is Christ and is like God, like capital G God, and they are on their feet, on their knees, washing my feet. But can you imagine what you believe to be God washing your feet and saying no, stop, and like batting them away? You couldn't do that. There was purpose behind Jesus doing that. And it was the love that one so freely gives is what one so freely receives. And like you were just saying, it is a virtuous cycle. And like, yes, we should be washing each other's feet, but what if those disciples said no? Like, so often we're told to emulate Jesus in that excerpt, but what if we emulated the disciples, right? I don't know. Just
Wow.
a thought.
Yeah, I love that. Can we be more receptive? And it's about keeping the door open. Like, so often we close the door on ourselves, on our dreams, on our relationships by not being willing to receive. Like, it's like that, are, and are our cups just too full? With all of these preconceived notions. If your cup is filled with, if you just got a big glass of I'm not worthy, there's no room for somebody to pour into you. There's no room for you to receive the things that you want. And again, it's you are the one blocking it. It's not the universe. It's not, because it's all yours to begin with. It's your world. Like, it really is. And so that's what this has caused me personally. And again, this is, and we'll link the create. I didn't create this meditation. I take no credit for it. Credit where credit is due. It's by an incredible content creator who I love, very philosophical, and we will link it. But the creator's name, he's on YouTube for certain, is Edward Art Supply Hands, I think is his name. But we'll put a link because it's like, I guess it's like Edward Scissor Hands, but Edward Art Supply Hands. And he's got an incredible corpus of work.
Mm,
Just very philosophical, very thoughtful, and incredibly thoughtful and engaging. But so I take this from him, and he gives it freely. So I hope people will go check him out as well. So we'll put the
yes,
link down there for this for sure. But
absolutely.
for me, it's about how can I expand who I am. Like, how can I, because I'm already that person, but how do I allow myself to walk in it? How do I take off the restrictor plates that I put on? And for me, it's about just imagining, going through this meditation and really feeling that in my imagination, I do have this power, that there's nothing stopping me. There's nothing stopping me from imagining whatever it is I desire other than me. And oftentimes we treat our imaginations like it's fire, like it's going to burn us. Like, oh my gosh, if I imagine somebody rubbing my feet, and I'm not giving them anything in return, like that's that's going to burn down the house. But it's in our head. It's amazing what it brings up, and it sounds like it. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, even as you go through the next week, what comes up, like how does this knowledge, as you reflect on it and let it seed in, what's one thing you can do this week? And I'd encourage our listeners to think about this too. Like, what is one thing that, going through this exercise, I'll ask you that, like, what is one thing you see that you might do differently or try this week, just to acknowledge this fact of what you just learned about yourself, with this mall directory that you now know where you are. I am here with respect to this. What is something you might
Mm,
take away to do you think? Not to put you on the spot, but
no, 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 no. Yeah, I think one thing that's been really big in all of this for me recently is the fear aspect, and like learning to sit with it and love it and not judge the fear. But I think there is something to the like, why is it there in the first place of it all, that's like, yes, when you feel fear arise, it is a messenger, just like any other emotion or reaction, right? All of these things are just messages for us to learn from. But I think one thing I've really been doing is like, okay, there's the fear. It's okay. Feel the fear, love it, and let it go. And again, I don't think that's bad or wrong, but maybe it's time for like, there's the fear. Hey, I've given you love. I've given you time. I've given you space. No more. No more fear. At least not when it comes to loving myself. That is one thing that I do not have time for fear for. Yeah, because truly, when you truly think about it, putting more love into the world, how is that going to make anything worse? It can't.
hmm
It's impossible. Like this idea of radical permission that you talk about, but it's like it's radical self acceptance too, right? It's like that is the most powerful thing we can do in a world that tells us if you don't work hard enough, if you don't struggle for it, like why there's so much virtue tied to struggle. It is so powerful to say, instead of struggling, I'm going to dance, right? Like if you what the Pinterest quote, if you fall, make it part of the dance. But it's like, truly, if you're feeling the fear, like that does not have the power to dictate it. You do. That is still just another part of yourself that you are sovereign over, that you get to dictate. So that's not a
yeah, I
super
love it.
tangible thing, but
Oh,
yeah,
I think it's beautiful. I think it's just recognizing that that fear, that fear is just a way for you to notice where there's more work to be done,
yeah,
where there's more growth. Because again, you're already whole and complete. Like, and that's, I know you and I have talked about this, that as we coach and we work with people from this assumption that you're not broken, that you are whole, and that you are a queen, you are sovereign of your own life. Like, I genuinely believe that with everyone I work with. I don't care what their circumstances. I don't care. I have trained myself, I have taught myself to see everyone in that way, as to the best of my ability, being human. And but you know when you can sit with that fear and do it anyway, and then recognize and challenge the fear and say, is this really, what am I really afraid of? And that's the shadow work, right? Going
yeah,
deep down inside to say, okay, I mean, maybe I had an experience when I was younger where somebody was looked down upon because they were selfish. But now, if I really investigated it, they were just setting boundaries and taking care of themselves and loving themselves. But I saw it as, and again, we could talk about this for ages in terms of female empowerment. Like, a woman who takes care of themselves is considered by society to be selfish. You got to take care of everybody else first. And that's ass backwards, in my opinion. We need to take care of ourselves first, so that we have the capacity and the capability to help others. And a lot of this is also recognizing that we need to be, it is fair to be compensated for what we do as well.
yeah,
Like, as coaches, because I know, even as I am in my coaching practice, it's, am I worth this? People are paying me, and again, this inferiority, this, I'm not good enough, this, I'm not worthy. But the fact is we are.
yeah,
You are. I am. All of our listeners are. And so I love what you said, though, and then I'll be curious next week when we come back, like, what's, if anything has come up in terms of, is there one thing
yeah,
that's changed just a little bit? And that's, we all want the road to Damascus experience where all of a sudden I'm a new person. And that's great. And I'm not saying it can't happen, because it absolutely can. However, that's not the only, if that's the only way you're going to allow it to happen, then, you may be waiting for a long time because there's no guarantee of anything. But if you're able to change just 2%, three, notice and just notice, gosh, wow, this is what I need, or this is what I want. This is a desire of mine, but I'm pushing it away from myself. Why? Is it fear? I'm afraid to want this. Why? It's okay that I'm afraid to want it. I roll out the red carpet, as they say, but I also keep the door open for that fear to walk on out. I sit with
Yeah.
it and I let it go. And so maybe there's one thing that comes up this week that fear comes up, and you can sit with it and see what happens. Or just write it. Just journaling is, of course, a great way to
Yeah.
see what really comes up. Like, why can't I be queen in my story? Why can't I be the sovereign in this story? Why does it feel bad to say no? All of these things, I'm a bad per. Why? I'm afraid because it'll make me a bad person. To whom? Like, again, to whom? To me? Okay, is that true? Do I know my heart? It's because we don't trust our heart too, right? Like, my heart
Mm,
can't be good because I've been told I'm bad so many times because of these other things. So we no longer trust our hearts. We no longer trust our guts and what we truly believe. And
yeah.
I want people to live in their whatever it is, without judgment. Whatever it is you want in your life. You don't want to have to work and you just want to be independently wealthy? Great. I want that for you. You want to be, chief blankety blank at such and such corporation? Great. I want that for you. Not maybe that's not what I want for myself, but if you want it, I want it for you. And how can we encourage each other to live our dreams more and more? So anyway, I hope people, our listeners found this useful. I know I loved hearing about it. I had no idea where we were
Yeah.
going to go, but I think we went in a really great place. So
I think
I know
so too.
we're definitely up on time. But what are last thoughts? Any last thoughts you have on this whole thing?
Yeah. I think the only other piece that's coming up for me is gratitude too. I think that that is something that in the visualization, but also in my real life, actually helps you with this acceptance piece.
Mm,
When in the visualization, my brain said nope to the grapes. It was like, okay, well, it's not like you're just yelling and commanding someone to do this. They're offering, and then you say, thank you. I appreciate it, right? And it's part of the exchange. And so I think that that actually is a really big piece of this virtuous cycle. And if you find yourself struggling with accepting, maybe look there too. Yes, fear is a great place to get answers, but if this is the first time you're trying something, one thing that I really love to do that's really hard to do, but it's a really great easy switch that might be a tool for listeners to use and just see how it feels. Instead of apologizing if you're running late, thank you for your patience. Instead of, oh, I'm so sorry it took so long for me to get that email back to you, thank you for your grace. Right? It communicates the same message, but you are not bad. You are not an inconvenience. You are not this weight that other people are forced to carry and juggle, right? The same way you love the weight of the people in your life, right? It's all of these things that make people complicated, that makes us love them. And you love helping people carry those things. Let them carry that for you too. And don't apologize for it, but just say thank you. And just try starting there. And I think that as difficult as that little shift is, it certainly like has popped up a lot of stuff for me over the last few years as I've tried kind of integrating that one. It's just like a quick little fix
I love I love
thing to
that
try.
because I love that. I think that's such a great thing to explore because I agree completely. Why are we apologizing all the time? And I mean, again, this goes to I mean, women are taught to apologize.
Oh yeah.
Apologize for taking up space. Apologize for needing more time. Apologize, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Well, why? Why do you need to? I mean, I love the idea of replacing that with thank you for your patience, or thank you for being so understanding, or just again, it's it's a mind shift of, and then also I think even in this meditation, what you said sparked one thing that I'm curious, as you're doing it and you try it again for yourself, instead of when you imagine somebody feeding you grapes or whatever works for you there that you'd actually want, can you be grateful in that moment for them, that and take it off of you, and be grateful that you can be a vessel to make them happy, that you give them. And again, it's not that their purpose is to feed you grapes, right? Like, but they are serving, if they're enjoying doing it, they're getting joy and fulfillment out of it. Can you be grateful that you have somebody who loves doing this for you? Can you believe that thinks you, whether or not you're objectively worthy of having your feet rubbed, the very fact that somebody loves you enough and thinks enough of you to rub your feet,
It
can you
makes it
focus on
real.
that gratitude? Like, wow, this person really loves this, and it gives them joy to do this, and can I get joy? God, I mean, the worst. Could you imagine a hell where you're a partner or a friend or whatever loves to give foot rubs and the person hates receiving them? Like, that actually sucks if you're the person who loves to give foot rubs or
Yeah.
enjoys that because your love language is touch, or that feeling of connectedness. I mean, when you again, it's all about giving alternative interpretations. Like,
Right.
oh, I'm so gross for wanting this, or I don't deserve this. Well, but I'm actually blocking their blessing. So and it goes back to that gratitude. I am grateful that I have somebody in my life who does this for me, who loves doing this for me, who enjoys. I'm not a chore. I'm not a burden. I'm worthy of this. I deserve it. And I deserve to find a person who loves doing it, because I'm not forcing any, but there's no force, there's no compulsion. It's just pure joy. And when it's joy all around, life is so good. We're living our best lives. We're we're just living in a state of fulfillment. And that's what I want
Yeah.
for you. It's what I want for me. It's what I want for all of our listeners. And it is possible. Is life going to be perfect? No. No. I wish. But when you know who you are, it's perfect in that moment. There's
Yeah.
nothing missing and nothing broken. So, and I think we could do so many segments on gratitude and how that changes things. But when you look at it different ways, it opens up so many possibilities. Like, wow, this person wants to do this for me. Like, it's giving them joy to do this for me. It makes them feel good. So why can't I? Why doesn't it make me feel good to receive it? Why do I feel the immediate need to say, "Oh, well, I got to take you out to dinner for this," or "Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with taking somebody out to dinner, and that's lovely." But why, again, transactional? Am I making this transactional? So really good stuff. I appreciate you going through that exercise with me,
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
I,
you
I
bringing it.
loved hearing what you your thoughts. It was really powerful. So
Yeah,
I know people are
absolutely.
gonna really identify with what you had to say, and
And I hope so.
hopefully shift just a little bit. Just notice these things and see if it's the way you want to continue, or do you want to change that pattern of thought, and refresh it. It's not changing to me. It's refreshing it. It's growing in the same way an acorn is not a deficient oak tree.
Right.
It, it grows into an oak tree. We grow into who we are, but we're already that person. We're already there. So
Yes.
awesome stuff. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today, for listening. Let us know what you think. Do you identify with things I said, with things Dennis said? Is there any moment that was just like, whoa, yeah, for you during what we were talking about, or anything that caught for you during the meditation? If you tried it, when you try it, we would love to hear it and hear how that experience was for you.
Yeah.
And yes, if you would like to go back to the original creator to listen to that, it will be linked in the video description down below. And as always, Dennis, thank you so, so much. Big thank you to our
Yes.
listeners.
Yes. Awesome.
And
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Love it.
yeah,
And yeah, and I mean, yeah, another exercise too. Just take your desires, and what's the one that is is the one you're least comfortable with, and explore that. What truly a desire that So maybe it's not the feeding grapes, maybe it's not the foot rub, maybe it's something else entirely. Well, imagine that and lean into that discomfort and explore it and understand why it's there. And see what comes up. It's just, be curious, and love to hear people's experiences if when they do this. We'll talk more about it, I'm sure. So, and Reese,
Totally.
always such a pleasure.
Absolutely. Okay, we will see you all next week.
See you on the flip side.
Bow Down is a weekly podcast from the Cohere Collective that explores esoteric and empowered feminism.
Please subscribe to Bow Down wherever you may be listening. And if you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a like, a 5-star rating, and a review. And if there's anyone you think would enjoy this episode, or maybe just needs to hear it, please share it.
If you want to stay up to date on all things Bow Down, you can follow the Cohere Collective on any social media platform at the Cohere Collective, and check out other content and offerings at www.thecoherecollective.com.
If you're interested in working with Reese to find and pursue your purpose, I encourage you to head to www.thecoherecollective.com/life-coaching.
If you're interested in working with Dennis to shed your mask and embrace your desires, you can email Dennis at dennis@theheartstoybox.com.
A huge thank you to Jack Corbett for Bow Down's music. You can find him on Instagram at j.corbe. Thank you all for joining us today. We're so glad you're here.
And as always, we hope you feel like you are living more coherently. And until next time, love.